Hi, Spiders. I'm excited to be here with Jarriel Jordan today for our 2023 Black History Month Spider Spotlight. Jarriel is a 2018 graduate of the University of Richmond, where he double majored in political science and sociology. Jarriel was also a member of our Spider football team here at Richmond and now is a real estate broker for the Home Team Realty Group. So, Jarriel, thank you for joining me today.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So let's get into it. The first question that I have for you, just kind of, thinking back to when you were in high school, what was it that drew you to the University of Richmond?
Um, One of the biggest things was of course, education. That initially drew me in. Then I went to a football camp, and I just fell in love with, of course, how beautiful the campus was. That was just the icing on the cake, and it being only less than 2 hours from where I'm from my home, that all those came into play to make my decision and draw me into the university. But everything played its part and went well while I was there. And I'm glad I attended Richmond for the 4 years that I was there.
Absolutely. Love that. And, you were here, you had some great success on our Spider football team. When you think of your experience here at the University of Richmond, what comes to mind as your favorite memory as a student athlete?
I have two. First, going to Spain. I'm not sure if they do it anymore. Do they send kids overseas anymore?
Yeah, they still have a few abroad trips.
I got you. Yeah, so I went to Spain going into my junior year, I believe,
Okay.
2016. That was one of the best times of my life. And then going to that same year, actually, that same football year, we went to the semifinals uh, in football. So those were two of the biggest memories and some of my best memories just as a student athlete in Richmond.
Awesome. Yeah, and I know, again, obviously you had a lot of success while you were here at Richmond, but also are having a lot of success in your career. So, gonna pivot a little bit to your career now, and just thinking about that success that you've had. What did your path even look like once you graduated here, getting into your career? What did that journey look like for you?
Yeah, so it was tough. Just starting out and just with any athlete, just hanging up the cleats in itself is just a tough thing to overcome. So it was tough initially, but looking back on it, it was one of the better things that I did, better decisions that I've made. But just that during that time, my senior year, knowing that I was going to hang up the cleats, um, came to a point where I was like, man, I don't know what I'm going to do, with my life after I graduate. My mom was a realtor at the time. She just got into real estate like 2 years prior.
Okay.
So she was a little bit fresh, but I just wanted to follow her footsteps. I knew I'd have a great mentor. And once I graduated, took my test. I graduated in May, Mother's Day. Took my test in July. Failed
Okay.
the first time, passed the second time the day after my birthday, August 22nd. Um, and of course, it just grew from there. My business grew from there. Um, and I haven't looked back since. And now I, of course, am a agent. I'm a broker. I have my own team, the Jordan Group. So everything just played out the way it was supposed to. Although I didn't see this coming once I figured out that I was going to hang the cleats. I just let life do its thing, and trusted God. And now I'm here.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome. And as a follow-up, what is it, I heard you mention, you kind of didn't really know what you wanted to do. And I think that's something that a lot of our student athletes might be faced with once they are trying to figure out what that looks like. What was it about real estate? I know you mentioned your mom and being able to have a mentor there, but what is it about real estate itself that kind of drew you in?
I couldn't see myself working for somebody. Well, not even that. I actually applied for a few positions and got denied.
Yeah.
After that, of course, I just said, whatever. Maybe that wasn't meant for me. Maybe real estate is what is my calling. Of course, I'm not working for anybody. I set my own hours. With that being said, real estate is still, of course, you'll work more than a 9 to 5 job. And a lot of people in real estate, honestly, because we have so much free time, just as entrepreneurs in general, you can get lost in that free time.
Yeah.
But uh, just the ability to have that flexibility to be able to work from wherever I wanted. Um, and of course, just with the opportunities that came and were presented to me and I didn't, achieve, that ultimately led me to where I'm at and what again just drew me into real estate itself.
For sure. Yeah. And I follow your business page, and you share a ton of resources and educational tips. And it kind of brought to mind for me something that you've even talked about on there. But what would you say is the biggest myth or maybe a common misconception about the home buying process?
That it's hard. You bought a house, right?
Yes, I did.
Yep. So it's probably a upfront. You probably thought it was going to be much harder than it was actually.
Yeah.
When you got the keys, you're probably like, this is kind of easy.
Right.
But it's a huge process. You're buying a house, you're buying $100,000 asset, right? So
Yeah.
it's a lot of thoughts going into it. But it's very simple. It's a very straightforward process. I think that's the biggest misconception a lot of people have, and I try to debunk that up front. But of course, it's just hard to wrap your head around buying something so big and putting down so much money.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of resources for you. Just as first-time home buyers, move-up buyers, whatever the case may be, there are resources for all types of buyers in this market, whatever route you want to go.
Yeah.
But the biggest misconception is that it's hard. It's a very straightforward process if everything lines up the way it's supposed to.
Right. Yeah. And I guess, as we're thinking about Black History Month, and we've had a lot of conversation about, disparities, or lack of resources for folks of color who are looking to buy a home or even thinking about the process. What would you say to those folks who are, maybe looking, but, are again, maybe thinking it's hard on the front end? What would you say to those folks?
Um, Again, just consult with a professional, somebody you're comfortable with. Make sure that they know your goals, and make sure that their daily task align up with your ultimate goal, which is of course to be a homeowner. Talk to you can talk to as many professionals as you want, realtors, lenders. Honestly, they're all going to say the same thing because everybody's doing the same thing. Everybody has the same product. Everybody has the same resources essentially. Some may have a little better resources than other, but for the most part, 9 times out of 10, everybody's going to have the same resources. But all in all, if you are looking out here to get a house, just do your due diligence. Make sure that you follow up with or interview a few people and connect with who you connect with, personally, soul wise. Make sure that they're a good fit for you personally more than anything.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people. It's a social media age. A lot of people go off followers. I mean, I have a good amount of followers myself, but you just can't go off of that. You can't go off of people's experience. Well, you should have somebody that's experienced, but you can't go off. I've sold 100,000, 100 million in real estate. Over the last year. You know, Sometimes they may not align with your ultimate goal. So you just want somebody again that is there for you
Yeah.
and you own. Of course, we have our clientele, but it should when you're in the process, it should feel like it's only you.
Yeah. It's great advice. Great advice. And again, much success to you and your career so far. And thinking about where you've gotten to with your career and the success that you've had, what lessons have you maybe learned as a student athlete that has kind of helped you throughout your career, or what lessons did you learn that you've applied to your career now?
I think being a student athlete, we really have an advantage because we have a lot of discipline instilled in us just from our sport.
Yeah.
So one thing that I believe took me to the next level where a lot of agents weren't able to get was that I had that discipline. Again, it's as entrepreneurs we can get lost in our time, but I had that discipline to be able to set up my system, set up my and structure my days to be able to accomplish the things that I did want to accomplish. And we're just natural competitors, especially me. So if I always think, if I'm not doing something, somebody else is, and that just puts a fire behind me to do, take an extra step and make sure that I'm doing what I need to do to just be my best at the end of the day. Because if I'm my best, it's nothing that can stop me.
Yeah. Love it. And, based on your experiences, while you were here or in your career, Obviously we've got current student athletes. What advice would you give them? Maybe what's something that you wish you heard when you were here, as a piece of advice? What would you share with them?
Um, Slow down and enjoy the moment. I feel like my senior year, like I said, it was tough for me to hang up the cleats. Just that decision and that time where the season was wrapping up. I feel like I was like kind of in a shell, you know. But again, God's path is God's path, and it can nobody can deviate that,
Yeah.
you know. Um, so one thing that I wish I would have done differently, especially like my senior year, was just take a deep breath and take it all in. This is you're only in college once. This is your last time to be around your friends for in the way that you are. Um, but yeah, just take it one day at a time. Don't get too anxious. Don't get too hard on yourself. Everything works out in your favor. You just have to follow whatever God's path is for you.
Yeah, that's great advice. I thank you for that. I know a lot of our seniors are at that point where they're working with RD, who works for all of our internships and helps with postgraduate opportunities. So I know that they will definitely get a lot out of that advice. The last
Yeah.
question I have for you, we've seen a lot and heard a lot about this focus for Black health and wellness, and it's something that we have been prioritizing here as well. So what do you do to take care of yourself? I know you mentioned you've kind of structured your days, working for yourself, and sometimes time can get lost. So what does it look like for you to take time to care for yourself?
Yeah, I deal directly with people and their problems. People are mean sometimes. People are annoying sometimes. So, I have a family, and it's a lot that I have to instill in myself and have to find stillness within to be able to just cope with everything.
Yeah,
Right? I have to take some of that out to myself. So, it's not for everybody. But one thing I do is I wake up really early. I wake up at like 4:45 every day. Work out, get my heart rate going and everything. And that, just prepares me and just makes me sharp and feel good. And um that's what I that's the time I take out of my day to pour into myself. I
yeah,
read, uh, drink some water, meditate, whatever the case may be. I just find some stillness and just some time to spend with myself because once I'm working, I'm spending time with everybody else.
yeah,
So it's just finding, what works what works best for you, what makes you feel good, feel energized at the end of the day. And for me, that's working out in the morning, reading my books, drinking my tea,
yeah.
and just having that peacefulness while everybody's asleep.
Right.
Um, that's what works for me. So what works for you may be different, but that's what works for me.
Yeah, love it. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to do this. The spotlight has been awesome. Again, much success to you and all that you're doing. And we appreciate you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.